And we don't even realize this. We go by our day and we think like, coronavirus only comes along like once every, these pandemics once every 100 years. But if you actually look at the data, we have been very close to having explosions of much more virulent viruses than coronavirus. So that brings us to the point of, yes, how do we fix this? Which would be stop factory farming, number one, and switch over to regenerative farming, right?
Yeah.
That's not only going to produce healthier food, but that's going to dramatically reduce the risk of these very virulent pandemics from exploding. But then it's also going to fix our nutrition, because regenerative farms produce more nutrient dense animal foods and plant foods. And it's obviously carbon net negative. So a lot of people don't understand there's differences between just, let's say, grass-fed meat and something called adaptive multi-paddock grazing, which can be -6 pounds net carbon negative for every pound of carcass on an adaptive multi-paddock grazing pattern, which essentially means instead of just letting the cows decimate one field of grass, you move them around different paddocks so they don't destroy the vegetation and the soil is still intact. And when you have farms like that, it's amazing how good it is for the environment.
And that right there is such a controversial notion that doesn't need to be controversial, but that's an explosive notion that animals can be good for the environment, that they have been good for the environment for millions of years. There were 150 million elk, pronghorn, antelope, deer, buffalo living in North America. They created some of the most fertile soil in the world. And then we monocropped the crap out of it for the last few hundred years. And thus we're left with really infertile, fallow soil, or, really bad soil. I was just at Rome Ranch over the weekend, which is a regenerative farm here in Texas with the folks from Force of Nature Meats, another company doing amazing work in the regenerative space by aggregating a lot of these regenerative farms together. But it's so cool seeing what they're doing at Rome. And you can see I think they've had the farm 4 years now. And you can see paddocks or, pastures of land that originally were completely barren. They showed us pictures, completely decimated, full of chemicals. And now they're starting to grow things again and the way they do that is by putting animals on the land in an adaptive multi-paddock rotational grazing system. And so we got to go out and see the buffalo, and the buffalo are their machine. They put the buffalo on the land, and the buffalo pooping and peeing is what regenerates the land. And that's so cool that these ruminants that really are native to North America, the buffalo this is our heritage large mammal since we killed all the woolly mammoth. These are the animals that created healthy soil. So I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that these pandemics give us a clarion call that we need to really promote and support this type of agriculture more than ever, because otherwise we're just going further and further into this horrible dark night of pandemics and really bad infections. It's just going to get worse, I think. I mean, like you said, H5N1 jumps to humans. That's a nightmare.
Yeah, that's going to be we can, and certainly, metabolic health is going to play a role in that too. But even still, if something like that ever happened, most people are going to need some type of exogenous substance to reduce that type of lung damage that occur. I mean, you can die within days. So most people with coronavirus, they'll die within 2 to 3 weeks. If you get like bird flu, you can die within days, like 2-3 days, and that's it. But what's interesting, and no one really talks about this aspect of animal foods, is that when you buy a factory farmed, let's say, piece of meat, typically that animal only lives for 14 to 16 months. So whereas if you buy meat from a regenerative farm, bison and elk, they can live anywhere from 24 to 40 months before they're slaughtered. So there's an extra up to over a year where they're extracting nutrients from their environment. And so the nutrient levels in that type of food that is not killed at 14 to 16 months, but is killed at 18 to up to 40 months, that type of meat is going to be much more nutrient dense. And that no one really talks about how long the animal is living before they go to slaughter. And there is a huge difference in the quality of your meat.
And you can really taste that. When I get liver from White Oak or Belcampo, it tastes rich. It's really red. So when I was out at Rome Ranch, I was able to shoot a deer with a gun. I was cheating. I didn't shoot it with a bow. And the liver from this deer is the color of beets. It is so red. And I've never seen a liver like that in my life. It was a healthy liver with no scars. And I've eaten some of it raw. It's the most red liver I've ever seen. And this was a doe that I shot that was probably 3 to 4 years old. So we're talking an animal that's lived on the land and extracted nutrients season after season after season. And that's a wild animal with a really, really red, deeply, darkly bloody liver with tons of nutrients that we're going to talk about today that are crucial for immune health overall.